The day has finally arrived. I started playing on this server in January 2013, and ever since I started, the Velious expansion has been just a few months away. Well, over 2 years later, on the 2nd of August 2015, Velious has gone live on Project 1999. There was a groovy little GM event to start things off with a bang, and I was lucky enough to be able to take part in it. Okay, so let me just give you a quick rundown on some things. I haven't logged in since late April. You might remember at the end of my last video I mentioned I'd be away on business for a few months. Well, a few days ago I jumped onto Twitch to see if anyone was streaming any P99 so I could get fired up and get ready to jump back into the game. I came across some guy called Baseman, and he was streaming in Carnell's Castle on a bard. It was a really good stream and I was enjoying myself, and it got me hyped to get back into the game and jump into the server. Fast forward a few days later and it's Velious launch night. I noticed Baseman's hanging around in North Row with everyone else kind of waiting for the event to start, so I jumped back onto his stream and ran over to see if I could see myself on his stream because I'm totally vain like that. Turns out, Baseman's actually a fan of my stuff, so he very kindly invited me along to participate in the opening event with him and his guild. So yeah, 200 people just kind of hanging about in North Row, just waiting for the event to start. We got entertained by a GM who was running around as a giant dwarf doing barrel rolls. I photobombed a couple of their guild group photos. That was fun. Eventually the global message came through. It was a bunch of RP about frost giants invading and all this other stuff. Didn't really get to read it because as soon as it was posted, it kind of got spammed straight out of my chat window by everyone losing their minds. So the gist of the event was that ice giants and Kaldane dwarves had started appearing through portals into a few specific zones and were running amok. Now, we went to West Karana, but I do believe that the West Commons and Greater Fadark also had the same thing happening in those zones. So no one really knew what to do at first, and everyone was kind of just running around confused, which is pretty standard for an event like this. But it didn't take long before we all figured out what was happening. In West Karana, near the Queenos Hills zone line, there were 3 Kaldane dwarves, 1 merchant, 1 lawmaster, and 1 explorer. It's a high possibility that there were also giants with the same names, like a giant merchant, lawmaster, and explorer, but I didn't encounter them because I was kind of too busy running around. I'd already settled with the dwarves. It does make sense that there would be those because the whole event was divided into the 2 factions, one being dwarves, the other being giants. So the idea was that humanoids in the surrounding zones and areas would drop either dwarven research scrolls or giant research tomes. These were handed in to the dwarf or the giant explorer and would make either frost giants or dwarves spawn respective to the item handed in. The hand-ins also gave faction and some coin. Some people reportedly got random items also. Some pretty good things were said to have dropped or been handed out, but all I ended up getting was like 20 platinum. The giants and the dwarves also dropped heads, which could be handed in as well, but I never got my hands on any of these, so I'm unsure of the rewards. Anyway, the giants and the dwarves would spawn around the zone, and the idea was that people got together and killed them. The entire goal really was to raise faction with either the dwarves or the giants. There were no negative faction hits, so it didn't matter if you accidentally tagged like a dwarf while you were killing giants or whatever, but in the end, the people with the highest faction would get a free teleport into Velious. This would let them avoid the bottleneck zone that was North Row, because everyone else who didn't participate in this would have had to kind of chill at the docks in North Row, jump on the raft and then take the boat, and it just would have been a mess. So my experience went like this. The first 15 minutes, it was good. It was great. I was helping out killing giants, running around having a great time. Then all of a sudden the zone just started getting absolutely slammed. There were almost 300 people in West Karana at one point. It got to the point where I had such a huge delay that I couldn't attack the mobs because by the time my attacks were registering, the mobs weren't there anymore. So it was just saying, you know, you're not in range. At one point I got aggro from a tower guard, and check this out. So here he's attacking me. No damages appearing or anything like that. I feign death and I start running off to the Queenos Hills zone line because I wanted to clear aggro. Literally 54 seconds later, the attacks from the guard come through. So that's what I was dealing with. Basically, I could not participate in the giant killing at all because I just couldn't attack them. I couldn't land hits to get the faction when they were killed. So after zoning out and then back in again, I decided to get away from the whole cluster of people and I wanted to go try and kill some bandits or some other humanoids to see if I could get any of the hand-ins for the dwarves. Unfortunately, every humanoid was being hunted to extinction. So I did a lap of all the bandit camps in West Karana and I managed to find 3 bandits alive. Only one of them dropped a quest item. Eventually I ran off to check Queenos Hills and Blackburrow. The quest items could be found there as well, but even those zones were getting hammered by people just smashing every humanoid they could find. Eventually the event came to an end. I headed back to see if I'd done enough to earn a port. The people who got the most faction got in on the first wave, and then they would lower the threshold a bit. I think they did that twice, so there were 3 thresholds overall. There might have only been 2, I wasn't really paying attention. I did manage to get in, whether it was on the 2nd or the 3rd, I'm not sure. So I got a port straight to the Great Divide, which allowed me to avoid the whole boat journey in that big, what I imagine was a massive cluster. I ran straight into Thurgadin, and I got myself a bind. So yeah, even though in the end it was really laggy and I wasn't lucky enough to get any of the really amazing loot that a lot of people were saying they had gotten, at least I did manage to get into Velious somewhat early. So it was in the end, I think it was great. So at this point, I didn't really know what to do with myself. I kind of ran around Eastern Waste for a bit. I checked out the Rygor Fort. All the zones were being absolutely slammed with people, which is, you know, to be expected. I decided to go check out the Wakening Lands, but upon zoning into Kale, I was getting repeatedly kicked off the server. So many people were in there. A couple of the times I actually got in and I managed to feign death on the zone line, and I was just watching people get smooshed like over and over. It was ridiculous. Anyway, I waited about half an hour, managed to get back in, ran through Kale, you know, dodging the trains, got into Wakening Lands, explored around there for a bit, killed some panthers, killed some flying monkeys. Eventually I ran into Zento. So in the end of my last video, he looked like this. Now 3 months later, he looks like this. So Zento and his buddy Nitalek, they were getting their tooth of Cobalt Scar. I'd completely forgotten about this, but back on live in Velious, in order to port to a dragon ring, you had to first run to the dragon ring and pick up a ground spawn. These ground spawns were dragon teeth. So once you had the tooth of the Great Divide, for example, you were able to teleport to the Great Divide. The teeth were also backwards compatible, so it went Iceclad to the Great Divide, to Wakening Lands, and then finally to Cobalt Scar. Once you got the tooth, it would work for each of the previous zones. So basically the Cobalt Scar tooth will let you teleport to all of them. Now in order to get into Cobalt Scar, you need a key. The quest to get the key is fairly short. You just need to go into Sky Shrine and find a drake called Ziglark Whisperwing. He will tell you that he is the herald of Lord Yelenak, the great ice dragon, and that he is charged with taking care of all mundane tasks that are too trivial for the great dragon. If you go up to him and say, "I am worthy," he will send you on an errand to prove yourself. The dragons have a giant spying for them in Kale named Winglorks, who feeds them information on storm giant movements throughout Velious. However, lately all of Ziglark's couriers have disappeared, so he is getting you to go in their place. You have to take the note that he gives you to Winglorks, along with 200 platinum for his payment. So, we head back through the Wakening Lands and into Kale. This zone's still a mess. There are like 150 people in here at all times. We dodge some more trains and deliver the items to the giant. I didn't actually have 200 platinum on me at the time, because, you know, I don't carry anything. But thankfully, Nitalek hit me up, so shoutouts to you, dude. Thanks a bunch. Anyway, you hand the items into Winglorks. He gives us the information that Ziglark requested and tells us to get lost. So we head all the way back through the Wakening Lands and back into Sky Shrine. Once you hand the information back over to Ziglark, he admits that he has mistaken you for a phony and that you have proven yourself to be worthy. For your troubles, he gives you a shrine key which lets you access Cobalt Scar. So now all that's left to do is run through the labyrinth of hallways that is Sky Shrine, into this room with this sort of dragon monument slash shrine thingy. We take our fancy new shrine key and click it on the statue, and Bob's your uncle, we've arrived in Cobalt Scar. From here you just run straight until you reach the dragon circle. You can't miss it. The tooth is chilling on the floor in the back right hand corner. It's very possible that quite a few people could be sitting here waiting for it, but it's okay, it spawns like once every 30 seconds and I'm pretty sure multiple people can pick it up at the same time. So yeah, now you have your Tooth of Cobalt Scar, so you're pretty much set to teleport to any of the dragon rings in Velious. Alright, so I'm going to finish up the episode here, guys. A bit short this time around, but you can look forward to more stuff coming in the future. I have some older footage that should make an episode or two from before I went away, and I plan to do some cool Velious episodes. I don't really know what I should be doing with myself right now. There's just so much stuff to do in Velious. It's been so long. I've forgotten a lot of it too. I will definitely be going to Velkator's Labyrinth, and I would really love to get my hands on some Holgrish Elder Beads before they get nerfed, as well as farming materials for Black Panther skin armor and just so much stuff to do. It's nuts. At this point, every second time I zone into Kale, pretty much, I still get kicked from the server. That zone's just constantly being packed, and that's understandable. But yeah, if there's anything you guys can think of that you want me to cover, just drop me a line in the comments. Like I said, I've forgotten so much about Velious, so anything to kind of boost my memory would be welcomed. I know I normally do shoutouts for people who message me at the end of each video, but in the 3 days that I've played since I've been back, I think I've received close to 50 tells from people, and a lot of them I didn't have time to write down the names just because of all the frantic GM event and all the Velious stuff that was going down. So I'm just going to give a massive shout out to all of you guys now. Like, you know who you are, you messaged me. Thanks for all the messages and welcoming me back. I'm really feeling the love. I will give a massive shout out to Baseman and the rest of Haggard Krew for letting me tag along. I wouldn't have been able to get the same coverage of the event without them. If you guys want to see some more awesome endgame content, go check out twitch.tv/Haggard Krew. Or if Twitch isn't your thing, it looks like Baseman has been putting in a ton of work and has been uploading a lot of the highlights to their YouTube channel. I can't directly give a shout out to that because it looks like they haven't sorted out their YouTube URL, but you can either manually search for Haggard Krew on YouTube or check out their website at haggardkrew.com. There is a huge amount of content on there for you guys to watch while I'm not around. So, thanks everybody for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Mistaken you for a phony, and that you have proven your worth, and fuck my life.